Hey folks, today I'm going to be starting my fruit cake, which is going to be the Christmas cake for this year that I'll be making. I make it in 2 stages, and today what I'm going to begin by doing is getting the fruit prepared and the dried ingredients that go inside it, and I'm going to be soaking them in some dark rum and sugar for a few days, and adding a little mystery ingredient as well, a little something to spice it up a little bit. So if you're interested in making a decent fruit cake, which is hopefully going to be tasty and have a few surprises within, then carry on watching. So I'm going to begin by weighing out the various quantities of dried fruit that I'm going to need. So I need 550 grams of mixed dried fruit, currants, sultanas and raisins. So here we go. 550 grams is actually quite a lot. It should be this filled to the top, and in fact it just about is. So that goes in here. You can see lovely large amount of fruit. It is a fruit cake, so we need to have a lot of nice fruit in there. So next comes 100 grams of dried mixed peel. So I'm gonna got my dried mixed peel just here, gives it a nice zesty flavour. So there we go, chopped and mixed peel added into the mix. I love all these seasonal flavours. It really does make me want to get Christmas going. I now need 50 grams of chopped mixed dates, which I have here. So I'll need to chop them actually. So I'm just going to weigh out 50 grams to start with, which is not too many, believe it or not. That's it. So that's what 50 grams of dates looks like, and I always think when I look at them, gosh, they look like cockroaches, which are pretty grim and something I'm not very keen on. But dates, they might look like cockroaches, but they taste absolutely fantastic. I love them. So I like my little rocking back and forth knife. It just makes cutting nice and easy, and you don't end up with the same shapes all the time, and that's the beauty of it. I don't want everything to be uniform all the time. I do like a bit of randomness in there. So this is coming on nicely. And show you that. So next up we've got 50 grams of glacier cherries, which they're not one of my favourite ingredients, but they are an essential part of a cake like this. So I need to weigh out 50 grams. There we go. Will do. So it's actually not that many. Put them on there. And again, they're already chopped. I'm just giving them a bit more of a breakdown, because I don't want huge pieces of these in the cake, and that will suffice. I do like a date. So I'm just going to add a few figs for good measure. They're not necessarily one of the typical ingredients, but they are quite a nice fruit. And they're different, and they are seasonal. They do remind me of Christmas. When I was a kid, my nan always had figs and dates at Christmas in one of them boxes that said "Eat Me" on it. And it's not something I would have ever eaten under normal circumstances, but it just seemed right at Christmas. Now we can see that's there. So I'm just about ready now to bring in the mystery ingredient, or the first of the mystery ingredients that you wouldn't normally associate with a Christmas type cake. And here it is. So, chili flakes. Now you might think, what? Chili in a Christmas cake? Like garlic with bread? But trust me, spicy foods and spices shouldn't just be reserved for savoury dishes. A little bit of this, just a little bit, goes a long way in a recipe like this. Authentic Indian spices from India, with the seeds. Really hot. I don't need to put any more than that in, that's enough. Those flakes will just add a nice little bit of, zing to it. It'll just make it that little bit more exciting than what it would have been otherwise. And there is going to be another ingredient which goes into this cake, which is not typical for a Christmas cake, and that is a bit of dark chocolate. And the chili and the chocolate works so well together. And particularly with these fruits, because of the high sugar content, and the next ingredient which I'm going to put in, the whole shebang of flavours really is like, it's a party in your mouth. Okay, now comes the adult bit. So I'm soaking my fruit for 3 days now. So after I finish this part of the recipe, I'm going to be going away for 3 days and coming back. I'll probably have a different t-shirt on. And what I'm going to begin by soaking them with is a bit of grenadine. Now, grenadine's a really fruity, syrupy liqueur. It's got a very low alcohol content, but it's got a very nice sweet taste. And I'm not going to put tons in, but I'm going to put some in, and I want them to soak it up. Next, I'm adding a bit of amaretto. Now, amaretto has got that gorgeous marzipan smell, so there's definitely Christmas going on here. Really lovely smell. And that just adds that Christmassiness to the inside of the cake. I don't put marzipan on the outside of the cake because I think it takes away from the flavour of the cake, if I'm quite honest. And I want the cake to taste like fruit cake, not like marzipan. But it's nice to have a little bit in there. And of course, now my favourite ingredient, really to give it a good, let's give it a good drink. Right, that lamb's navy rum. Now this is a personal favourite of mine. I love my dark rums. And what I want to do is get that in there now. Oh, that is incredible. That smells fantastic. Right, I'm leaving this now for 3 days. I'm going to come back to it 3 days later. That's when you'll see me next, and we're going to pick up the rest of the fruitcake recipe from there. See you later, folks. Well, it's an absolutely beautiful morning in the garden. I see the cats haven't moved. But it's 3 days later. I've got fresh t-shirt, fresh hair, and I've got some fruit which has been soaking in alcohol for 3 days. And honestly, I feel like I could get drunk just smelling it. This is going to be a good cake. Welcome back, folks. Oh, here, so this is my cake tin. It's not a usual cake tin. It's made of silicone. And I like these because the cake mixture often doesn't stick to them like it does to tin. I'm still going to put some greaseproof paper in the bottom, but I won't need to worry about the edges because I can just go around with a flat knife and go like this and it will come loose. So in order to get the greaseproof paper measurement right in the bottom, I'm going to use a side plate, and the side plate just fits nicely in the bottom of the dish. So all I need to do is get some greaseproof paper and then draw around the side plate. So I'm just using a little Bic pencil to draw around the side plate. It takes me back to being at school. Hopefully I'm a little bit better now than I was then, although I'm still not that great. Et voila, a mostly decent circle, and that will go in the bottom of here, like so. So now I'm just using a bit of kitchen roll on in some butter. Don't worry, this is going to be going in the cake anyway. And I'm just going to add a little bit and spread it really well around on here. I know it's greaseproof paper, but I don't want any sticking whatsoever, so I'm taking every precaution that I possibly can. And then I'm going around the edge of the silicone with the excess from on here. Grease it up, baby. So in this type of heavy Christmas cake, I'm using plain flour rather than self-raising flour, which you would often more associate with cakes and sponges. But I will put a little bit of baking powder in just to compensate and help it get a little bit of a lift. So I need 225 grams of plain flour. So just open that up. Oh, there's 226 grams. Don't tell anybody about the extra gram. So the next step is to sieve that flour. I don't want any lumps in it. There shouldn't really be any, but it's just nice to get it as perfect as possible. So there we go. And I can't see any lumps at all. In fact, perfect. So now I've got ground cinnamon, nutmeg and ground mixed spice. So I'm going to add 1 teaspoonful of mixed spice to the mix. And in fact I think that's just about all I've got left in here anyway. So that works out. Yeah, might as well finish it. Waste not, want not. And then half a teaspoonful of ground cinnamon, thereabouts, and half a teaspoonful of nutmeg. Yeah, that'll do. And then I'm just going to mix it in a little bit. Let that go in. Okay, I've got some more dried ingredients to follow. So I also need a teaspoonful of cocoa powder. I'm going to just sieve this a little bit as I pour it in, because you sometimes do get lumps in cocoa powder. Nobody wants a lump of cocoa. A generous teaspoon, we can call that. That's fine. It's getting some chocolate in it anyway. And you can see there's some lumps in the bottom of the sieve. I'll just push them through with my finger. And there they go. Sorted. Then in terms of dry ingredients, I'm just going to add a little bit of baking powder and just a bit more for good measure. Again, just mix that in there. You can really smell the cocoa actually coming through, more so than the spices. Right, moving on. So now I need another bowl, and I'm going to use this one for mostly my wet ingredients, and then once I've blended my wet ingredients together, I'll mix them with the flour, and on we go. I now need 175 grams of butter. I'm going to use a mixture of butter and baking margarine, because butter's quite hard to work with sometimes, especially if it's not soft like this isn't. So I've got 49 grams of butter in, and I'm going to use the rest as baking margarine, and it'll be easier to work with. So that's 136 grams, 175, exactly on the money. I now need 175 grams of soft brown sugar. So I'm just going to pour this into here. I just use takeaway tubs, by the way, on the scales. You can zero the scales so you don't get the weight of the tub. And they're really handy. And it's reusing, recycling. So 175 grams of sugar looks like a lot more than 175 grams of butter. It does. Oh, that's 182. I've gone 7 grams over. I'm not going to worry too much about 7 grams. So there we go. Sugar and butter. Okay, so I'm going to blend my sugar and my butter together. So I'm just going to pour the butter into the red bowl, and then I'm going to put put my sugar into the red bowl. Now I'm going to add my butter to it. And it's already coming up to room temperature nicely and beginning to melt, which is helping me. It's always hot in the kitchen. And I'm just going to simply blend these together with a wooden spoon. It's going to take a little while, but it should finish being a nice kind of buttery, sugary paste. So I'll be back in a little while. Next up, I've got black treacle. This is some messy stuff, and I've got to do a tablespoon of this, and you can never get it off the spoon. There we go. So you can see it's going in there, and there's always that eternal struggle to stop the treacle. I think I'm just going to brutally stop it. Don't want to lose too much of my mixture though. That'll do. Messy stuff. And that's got to now be blended in as well. Now I've got an orange, and I'm just going to grate some of the skin into the mixture as well, just to give it a little bit of zestiness. So that's most of the skin in there. Not all of it. I'll use the rest on the garden in the compost. But cheers, folks. Next up, it's 4 eggs. And as I always do with eggs, I'm going to crack them into a glass, because what I do not want is any bits of shell, because it makes me gip. So that's lovely, and there's no wastage here, because these eggshells go in yet another takeaway tub. And what we end up doing is getting a rolling pin, bashing them down, so you end up with just the fragments. And then we save these up, and then when we're planting plants out in spring and they're young and tender, and the slugs and the snails who want to eat them, we scatter these round them, and they don't like to climb over the eggshells. So it's an eco-friendly way of protecting your plants. Top tip. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and add just 1 egg at a time to the mixture. Snotty. That'll do. And I'm going to stir that in. And as I'm stirring that in, I'm going to add a little bit of the dry mixture, so it all begins to blend together nicely. There we go. That is nice and shiny, and it's mixing together. I'll just keep going. And then the next egg. Plop. And this time I'll put a little bit more mixture in. And I'll continue the process until all the eggs and all the dry mixture are added to this. So I shall be back shortly. You get proper armache doing this. So I now need 50 grams of chopped walnuts. So that's what 50 grams of walnuts looks like, and I've got a really good way of dealing with these, chopping them up. I use this little device. It's from Pampered Chef. And this is, I don't know what it's actually called. We've had it years. I call it the Whopper Chopper. So here we go. That was great. I enjoyed that. There you go, 50 grams of chopped walnuts. So now it's time to bring all this together. So I'm going to add the walnuts to the mixture. And as you can see, that now takes a nice textured mix. It mixes pretty easily, to be honest. And then I'm going to add the fruit. So there's lots of fruit, as you can see. It is a fruit cake. So I need to just do this a little bit at a time. And if you find it gets a bit too stiff as you're doing it, you can always add a little bit of milk, but don't go mad with it. So I'll add a bit of that, start to stir. Oh, it really does begin to smell like a Christmas cake now. Ah, nice. Okay, so I'll put my second lot of fruit in. Oh, the smell, honestly, it's making me want a drink. Just found a big bit. Don't want big bits, so I'm just going to give that a snip. There we go. Again, stir that lot in. Come on, you can't tell me that you don't think that looks good, because that does look ace. And then the last lot. In you go, your boozy fruit. I sometimes call the wife that. She doesn't appreciate it. Come on, you've got to be happy with that so far. That looks grand. So a little final mix around. And then I've just got one more ingredient. The final ingredient is a little bit of chocolate. Now I won't put all that in because that does contain 29 grams of fat and that will affect the balance, but I'll put half of it in, and I might just, you know, have a... You've got to test it. You got to break it up, take out your aggression. Evil chocolate, making me fat. So that will do, and I'm just going to add that into the mixture, so, like so. And it's not traditional to put chocolate in a Christmas cake, but neither is it traditional to put chilli in a Christmas cake. So the spices of the chilli complements the dark chocolate really well. The sweetness of the fruit and the alcohol together also works well with the above, and it will actually be a really rich cake. It's certainly not something that you're going to want to have a large piece of in one portion, unless of course you're me and you're really greedy. It's a Bobby Dazzler. Okay, so now I want to put the oven on. I've got a choice of two ovens. I've got a fan oven on the right, or I've got just a standard type oven down here on the left, and I'm not going to use the fan because I think sometimes it cooks things a little bit too violently. And if anyone from Bellin is watching this and wants to send me a couple of free knobs for my cooker, I'll say good things about you in future. 150 degrees, and I need my oven to warm up, so I shall just wait for that to happen. So now comes the fun and satisfying part of the journey, and that is spooning the finished mixture into the tin. It's really lovely and stiff. It's got a nice shine to it. It smells like Christmas. It will taste fantastic. The challenge with this cake is waiting until December the 25th to eat it. I'm just going to scrape those last remnants out of the bowl. Don't want to waste anything. There we go. Very little waste, as usual with my recipes. Right. Now, let's smooth it over. Slight hump in the middle, but not massive. Down at the edges. It'll cook quicker at the edges than it will in the middle. Right. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. It's been yet another labour of love. So I'm waiting for the oven to warm up. I just want to show you in the silicone dish what I've got. Looks good, smells good. I think it's going to be a success. Let's wait and see. It's got to cook for 4.5 hours at 150. So it's, you know, the best things come to those that wait with these sorts of recipes. Okay, so it's time to go in the oven. 4.5 hours bake time. $150. So I'll be back in 4.5 hours. And in the interim, I think I might go and pick some vegetables from the garden. Four and a half hours later. Ooh, steamy. Right, I'm hoping that's ready. So it's very dark. Hopefully it's not burnt. Is it cooked? That's come out clean. I think that's fine actually. Oh yeah. It's actually just nice on the top. I think I'm happy with that. Right, I need to transfer it onto there, but I'm going to take it off the tray and leave it in there for 10 minutes before I take it out of the tray. Just want it to cool a little bit before I do that. Just looking around the edges and I can already see that it's not stuck. Yeah, that looks like it's going to come away nicely. I'm going to get a plate and I'm going to put it on top, and then I just want to flip it and hopefully it will come out in one piece. Tease it off gently. So here it is. Oh come on, that doesn't look bad at all, does it? I am pretty happy with that. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I'm pretty delighted with that. That looks nice. I need to flip this over now so it's not on the plate, so it's on the rack so it cools properly. So there it is on the rack. I'm really pleased with that. That's going to be a really nice, rich and dark fruit Christmas cake. Now it doesn't finish here. I don't decorate with marzipan and icing, but what I will be doing every week or every 2 weeks is stabbing it with a cocktail stick and giving it a drink, some drambuie, for a few weeks. And then it'll go in a tin, it'll be wrapped in tin foil, go in a tin and be saved for Christmas. I'm happy about this. So I need to now wrap the cake in tin foil for storage because this cake will keep for a very, very long time, months actually. But I'm going to give it a weekly feed of alcohol just to give it a bit of moist inside and just give it that really nice Christmas spirit. So first of all, I've got to put some tin foil underneath it. Now it's on the tin foil, I'm just going to stab it a little bit, just to make some holes in the top. Just using a cocktail stick. I don't want to cause massive damage to it, but I need to have enough little places for the alcohol to sink inside. And what I might end up doing before we have this is I might just ice the top or put a little bit of chocolate on the top. Although I might not, because I just like it as it is. I normally like to feed my cake with drambuie, but I don't have any at the minute, so I'm just giving it a little bit of lamb's navy rum just to start it off. Oh, that's plenty. And a little bit more. That's enough. That's it, no more. And it'll probably be every week or two it'll get a little drink of drambuie. Maybe not as much as that. And it will be moist and it will just be like, wow, Christmas, chocolatey, spicy, fruity sensation. I'm very happy with this. Now I just need to wrap it up as best I can. Try and keep it as airtight as possible. Wrapping it up like a Christmas present. And there's going to be some gaps, little gaps, but it's fine because it's going in a tin. But I'm just trying to retain the moisture and the flavour as much as what I possibly can. So the best way to put this in a tin is not to put it inside the tin, but rather just to stand it on the lid and then put the tin upside down on the cake. So there we have it. I won't be showing you this anymore now. This is going to be going up online, so if you're wanting to look for a Christmas cake recipe, it's there. And I'll maybe give you an update on Christmas Day with a new film just to show you what it looks like. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that, folks. Have a Merry Christmas, or you will be sorry. Ho, ho, ho.